Welcome to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Personal Trainer Hustle. If you didn't know, you do now.
Welcome back to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Today, we're covering a very basic, very simple, but very powerful topic, you guys. Today's topic is about learning to sell the next step, the next phase in your sales process, okay? So what's the mistake that we make, right? This is a mistake I've made. Sean has made this mistake. A lot of trainers are still making this mistake. I know even recently, I had to go back and reassess my sales process. I had to reassess my website because I realized I am starting to forget this principle here that we're covering today. So today's principle is called selling only the next step, right? You have to sell the next step. What does that mean? We'll start by highlighting the mistake. The mistake that we make is not being aware of the steps that are involved in our sales process, right? So what does that mean? What I want you guys to take away from today's short episode, it's going to be a short one, you guys, but it's going to be very important. I need you to follow along on today's episode, right? What I need you to do is look at your sales process. So, what's your sales process, right? Really try to break it down. The first part is you're going to either meet someone for the first time. So, in our gym, usually our first contact is that person went to the website. Now, my job is to get people to go to the website, but we're going to start from the website. People go to the website, and my job is to get them to come to a consultation. So I want you guys to think about that, right? The first thing I need is for people to be aware of me. The next thing I want is for people to want to try it, to be curious enough to come in for a consultation. When they come in for a consultation, I need to sell them the benefits of the consultation, right? I need them to be excited about the future. And then finally, I get them to make a purchase, and then they make a commitment. And then my job from there is to get a recommitment, right? So in every sales process, there is a process, right? So we call it a sales process for a reason. So if you want to think about today's episode as a sales process, you can think about it like that as well. But this is the training that we don't get in sales often, which is every one of you guys needs to stop and think about what your process is and break it down into the different categories that are required for a purchase to be made, right? So you need to think categorically. You need to think about compartmentalizing your process every single time. So as I was saying, I had made this mistake recently where I was so focused on making the final sale that I was forgetting how the system goes along, right? How the system is broken down and making sure that every part of the system only sells the next part, right? So I'm giving you guys the example of how I lay out an ad. This is how I've been doing it recently, right? A lot of us, when we are making an advertisement for our services, we sell the final product, right? Which is the training. There's nothing wrong with the training, but you have to remember what that customer first has to do before they make that big commitment to you. Before they decide this is where I want to train, their first thought is, I need to figure out if this is actually for me, right? Is this what I'm imagining? Is there certain things about this that I don't know about, right? So there are questions in that potential customer's mind that there has to be steps to, right? So the best example I can give you is when you are kind of starting to date someone that eventually turns into a more serious relationship, which then evolves into meeting friends and family, which evolves into, maybe some type of long-term commitment or marriage or um, family or things like that, right? Think about how many things have to happen before that final big step and like the longevity happens, right? It all starts with getting someone to just show up to a date, right? Or just or the guts to approach someone or message someone or however it is that we do it. So I need you to think about every step that goes along because we don't stop and think about every step, that everything has an order, right? You need to pass certain steps in order to build off of that step to get to the next step. And when it comes to our training, we constantly jump to the end, right? We're constantly trying to preach personal training. If you hire him as a trainer, my training system is this, my training system is that. which is okay because you have a value, but you have to realize that you may be giving that person too much information too fast. You may be overwhelming them with information. For lack of a better term, you are coming on too strong, right? You're forgetting where you want to go with your process and focusing 100% of your energy on selling that next step. So, I'll give you two examples that I can think of right now, right? We'll do first for those of you guys that work in a gym, and then for those of you guys that have your own business, right? I'm going to give you the two examples of how it is that we're skipping these steps, or we're missing a certain part that we need to be focusing on. So for those of you guys that work at a gym, right? Let's say you're working the floor and you're approaching people, right? You're talking to people. And a lot of people, because they don't know how to approach, they go right away and they start talking about, oh, hey, if would you want to try a free training session, da 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 da, forgetting that first you have to break the ice. So look at that, right? You have to make your system make sense. You have to know every part of your system. So for somebody who's approaching people at the gym, your first step is breaking the ice, making first contact. When you categorize it that way, and you categorize that as an actual step, it's a real step. It's not just something that you overlook. It's a step in your system. When you do that, you can now go back and practice good icebreakers. You could ask your friends for good icebreakers. You could read books and look up videos on good icebreakers, and you can become somewhat masterful in this category of your process, which is the very first category, the very first step, which is having something that captures that person's attention, right? Having a set of questions, having an opening line, having something to offer that is beneficial to that person in order to get their attention, right? And now you say, okay, and then after that, I have to set up an appointment, right? No, no, you cannot jump from breaking the ice to try and set up an appointment. First, after breaking the ice, you have to figure out how you can add some value to that individual, right? So, step two of that process would be to collect information with that person, right? If you get them interested enough, you have to figure out how you can help them. That's the second part of the phase, right? So, phase one, I have to get their attention. Phase two, I have to keep their attention. So now, how can I keep their attention? And now you can evolve that step of your process. You can become better at keeping their attention, right? And so, what I want you to start realizing is that if you don't realize it, you're not going to realize that the reason you're failing at prospecting isn't because you can't approach people, it's because you can't keep their attention. These are two different categories in the system, right? So you have to respect each one. Some people, I've met them, they have no problem approaching everybody in the gym, but they can't keep a conversation going because that's a separate phase. Now, I've known other people, this is more how I was. I had no problem making friends with people, but I was terrified of opening a conversation with someone. I didn't know what to say to a stranger. I've never met him before. How can I just start talking to a stranger? So I had to develop that, right? But both of these parts are important and you cannot skip. So if you come on too strong talking about, oh, if you hired me as a trainer, I would do this, this, and this for you, you're skipping over all of these steps. And even though, yes, sometimes it might work, that's not the natural order of things. So you have to work on how you open. When you open, your next sale is to keep their attention and to gather information, not the consultation, not the prices, not how you can correct them, not the package, the results that you get people. You're skipping too far ahead, right? You want to sell the next step. So first you open, and now I need to just sell you on talking to me. That's its own skill. That's the sale. The sale is, how can I keep you talking to me? That's the phase that I'm in. That's the phase that I need to figure out how to do. Once I have your attention and we're having a conversation, my next sale is on, I have the tools to help you. But how can I do that? I first have to know how to help them. So once I have that conversation going, my next step is to collect information, be interested enough in them to keep the conversation going. But I'm moving on to my next sale, which is I need them to want to work out with me at least one time, right? So once you have a conversation on the floor going, You can't start talking about the training. You have to start talking about this is we're really getting to the meat of it now. When you're having that conversation on the floor, your goal is not to sell the training. Your goal is to sell them wanting to come in for a consultation or assessment. How do you do that? Well, you have to work on your sales pitch. Your sales pitch during that conversation is to collect information and to present to them that if they showed up for a consultation, you would be able to provide solutions. If they showed up for an assessment or a free trial workout, you would be able to provide solutions based on that conversation that you're having. And so if you do that, that person's going to want to show up to try it out, not to buy it, not to buy it. They're not showing up to buy it. They're showing up to try it, not buy it. And again, that's why we have to be so mindful of where we are in the process. So every part of the process needs to only focus and lead to the next part of the process, right? But when we're trying to skip over is when we're losing the conversation, we're losing the attention, we're losing potential customers. They're not coming in, they're not showing interest, they're giving us the runaround, right? They're telling us they're busy. Why? Because you didn't give them all of the time and attention, and you didn't master the art of selling the next phase, right? So in this example, this is what I learned when I worked at Bally Total Fitness is once I had somebody, and this is really where I first started applying this philosophy that I learned from someone else. I didn't make this up. I learned this from someone else, from a book or something, an audiobook, I don't know. But I started to apply this and I realized I got to take one of my headphones out because sometimes I hear like maybe somebody's at the door. Um, what I realized is I guess somebody's just moving around, probably upstairs. Um, So what I realized is I needed to stop trying to get them to love the idea of training with me, right? Because I kept talking about personal training this, and I can show you this, and I can show you that. And I was trying to sell my service, but I wasn't selling the next step. And so I started to apply this when I was at Bally Total Fitness. Every time I started a conversation with someone, I would only focus on getting them interested in showing up for a consultation. So I would have this conversation with them and I would say, you know what? I can show you 3 exercises for that. I can show you like in one session, I can show you what you need to be eating. Right. So I would sell the one consultation. Right. So when we were talking and they were like, oh, I'm not really getting results or my arms are getting bigger, I'm not dropping body fat. I would have this conversation and I would say, you know what? Right now I'm kind of busy, right? I have to get back to a session, but why don't we do a 15-minute consultation and then like I'll just lay it out for you and show you like how it would work so that you drop those 5 pounds. Or I can watch your routine or I can build a new routine for you based on what you're doing, but I would have to see how you squat. I would have to see how you, but during the consultation, I'll set aside an hour and it's part of your membership. It's free and I'll kind of break it down for you that way you're ready to come in. You bring your water, you bring your protein, you can bring the one you've been drinking. And, I can look it over and kind of give you some suggestions or look over maybe what's going on. Right. So all I was doing is getting them excited to show up for the consultation. So now when they show up for the consultation or this assessment or the free trial, whatever it is that I sold them, now it's time to sell the potential package, right? Only now, only once they've committed to the free thing, only once I have gotten that far, now the consultation is about the long term commitment. And now I can work on that part of it, right? I can have mastery of, okay, what questions do I ask? I've done episodes on this. What questions do I ask? How do I put it together, right? How do I present this twice a week, 3 times a week? How do I actually give them value during this so that they feel like they can trust me enough to make a purchase? But look at what happened, right? You went from opening to keeping their attention to finding out how you can help them to getting them to show up to finally making a purchase. And sometimes, even then, it might have to be a short term purchase because they might just be trying it out. And sometimes the best thing you can do is if you feel like, man, I don't really have 100% their buy in yet or their trust, during that consultation, you can sell them a shorter term plan if you can't do the long term, right? Because again, it's about gaining trust, getting to the next step, getting to the next step, getting to the next step. So Maybe if you feel like, man, you can actually say it that way. Hey, why don't we just do a month or 2 months or three, whatever is short term for you? And then you sell them what you intend to do in that month or in that 3 month period. So you can say, hey, today went great. I'm thinking, why don't we just do a 6 week plan and we make the emphasis in dropping those 10 pounds? Now we're going to do this, this, and that. And if you follow the plan, I think that we can have a really big change in your body. I can predict that because of blah, 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 blah. And, it would be a short term thing. And if it works, then we can talk about really committing to getting all the way there to your goals, of getting to down to this body fat, of getting stronger. And now you've added more and more trust, because that's the issue when you first meet someone, is there's no trust. So going from being a stranger who approached them to being their trainer who they're going to make a long-term commitment to, there's a lot of steps that have to happen in the middle. And so all I'm trying to make you guys aware of is I just want you guys to be aware of it today, that you have to break it down a little bit more and realize all you're trying to do is 100% commit to selling the next thing, right? The next phase of the process. So, this is also for you guys that maybe have your own website, your own Instagram following, your own brand. And this also applies to if you work at a gym, it's still the same thing, right? So, for example, I'm going to tell you guys how it works for me at my gym, right? I have to first get people to want to go to the website. So when there's an ad that we put out, or there's a piece of content or a flyer or whatever it is, first we're trying to get their attention. And once we get their attention, what are we trying to sell? I'm not saying come to the gym, not yet. What I'm saying is go to the website, get more information. And even in the website, there's buttons that say, hey, if you're trying to lose weight, go here. If you're trying to gain more strength and musculature, go here. If you're coming back from an injury and you're doing rehab, click here. Right. So you're constantly only selling the next phase of their their plan or their journey. Right. So you have to break it down. You can't just jump to the end and assume that people who followed your Instagram are ready to buy your training. That's why you guys are confused, right? You have these followers, you have these people that say they're going to train, but they don't actually ever make a purchase in training, because you have to make them excited about the next part, right? So, whatever it is that you're doing, if you're creating content, the content, again, it's all about your intention. I can't give you the answer, but I need to point you in the right direction so that you guys figure out how to do this for yourselves. When you make a piece of content, what do you want them to do with that content? Right? So when we do content, when we do an ad, let's say lately we've been doing ads to get people excited just to meet with a trainer, right? Because the trainer might have solutions. The trainer is going to do a roadmap to success for them. A trainer is going to help them with their movement, help them with some nutritional advice. Whatever it is, they're excited to get that piece of the puzzle for them. So if we go in, oh, well, the only way you can come in is to make a long-term commitment, they might keep hesitating. But if you only sell the next step, it makes it easier and easier and easier to move them along. And slowly, every phase, they're gaining more and more trust, more and more trust, more and more commitment. They're getting further and further into this, to where by the time they make a purchase, it makes sense to make the purchase, because every step of the way, they've only gotten to the next phase, right? So first, I went to the website. Again, right, I'm talking to you guys that have a business. You probably should have a website. So first, maybe you get them to follow you, but your content should get them to be interested in getting more information. So they should go further. So what's the next phase in following you, right? They found your Instagram, they found your Facebook, they found your whatever the current social media of the day is, because it's going to change over time. Now what? Well, now when I make something, I'm going to call to action and say, hey, if you have this issue, I can do a 20-minute consultation. And this is exactly what we're going to do. Do you want to do that? Well, yeah. Is it free? Yeah, it's free. Just come do it, right? Or everybody's different, right? But we always try to keep the barrier of entry low. So the goal from the following is to get them to go to the website. The goal of the website is to get them to have enough information so that now they want to come in for a consultation. The goal of the consultation is to figure out where we can help them. And once we know how to help them, the goal of knowing how to help them is to give them a plan that actually makes sense to them. Once we show them the plan that makes sense to them, now it's about how they want to purchase it. So now we're to the last phase. Do you want to give us a check or a credit card? Do you want to pay it all up front, or do you want to divide it into payments? Right. But we didn't jump into that first. First, you came in. The next step is to ask you powerful questions. The next step after asking you questions is to let you ask questions. The next phase is to figure out how we're going to help you. Once I know how I'm going to help you, I have to figure out how long it's going to take. So that's the next phase. Once I know how long it's going to take, I'm going to ask you if you're ready to take this journey. Once you say yes, then I show you how much it is. Once you know how much it is, we decide how we're going to pay for it. And once you pay for it, we decide what days you're going to come in and train, step by step by step by step, right? So I'm going to, since today's episode is fairly short, I'm going to focus on that last part just to show you guys a little bit more of how the sales process works here. So even during the sales process, you need to always sell the next step, right? A lot of you guys are jumping to the end, jumping to the prices, jumping to the packages. But how do you know what package to present someone? Answer that question, right? How would I know what to present them? Well, it's based on what I saw and based on what we talked about. Okay, so now you know your previous step, a step that you should take seriously. Well, how do you have this conversation with them? Well, I should have a set of questions that I'm going to ask. Absolutely. So now you prepare yourself. You have a set of questions. How do you get someone to show up for a consultation? Oh, well, there needs to be something in it for them. Yes. So speak to that, right? How do I get someone to go to my website? Well, first I have to show them that I know what I'm talking about. Yes. So then do content to show them what you're talking about. Well, how do you know what to talk about? Well, maybe I need to read books. And so you see how I'm going back. I'm breaking down every single step of the system, right? So first, you have to have knowledge to be able to help people. You need to put the knowledge out there for people to trust you just enough. Once they trust you, you want to ask them to come in and get something a little more specific to them at a low barrier of entry. Once they do that, you have to have powerful questions so that you figure out how to help them. Once you know how to help them, you have to know about how long it would take to see a difference. Once you know about how long it takes to see a difference, you now can present a package that matches that. And once they agree to the package, then there's a price tag. You see how the price is the very last thing that comes in this system. Why? Because before showing the rate, the first sale you had to make, and for those of you guys that listen this long, this is you guys are going to get a lot out of this last bit here, because this could be a whole sales course all by itself right here at the end. In order for you to show a price, you first had to have a commitment of time. And a lot of you guys, again, because we're not thinking about what am I actually trying to sell in this moment, you skip a step. So when you're presenting a price, a package, you're presenting the plan. What are you getting them to buy? You're getting them to buy into the plan that you're putting together, the program that you're putting together. Now, I don't know what the price is, but do I know I need it? Does it make sense? That's the sale that you need to make, right? And a lot of us are skipping over, right? So once you got the sale of the consultation or the assessment, right? Because that when you first talk to someone, whether it's online or in person, your first sale is to get them to want to try it. You should not be talking about how long it's going to take to get results, right? Again, you're skipping too far. Commit to selling the consultation, make the consultation, make the trial workout so worth it to show up, right? What are they going to get from this trial workout? They have to get something valuable or else they're not going to show up. So you sell the consultation, you sell the assessment, you sell all the benefits and the value and the reason why this is so important to them so that they want to have it. Once you make that sale, Now you're making the next sale. What's the next sale? The next sale is simply to have them buy into your plan, not your pricing, right? Because you guys that have seen websites or built a website, what do we call the price? We call the plans and pricing. Plans and pricing, because there needs to be a plan attached to that price. There needs to be something that makes sense. So my only sale, because now they showed up, I don't have to sell the consultation anymore and the benefits. They're already here. I just have to make sure I deliver. So now what's my new task? What's my new mission? My new mission is to sell the plan that I'm putting together for them. That's the only sale. There's no price on that yet. If I can get you to understand and agree to my plan is 3 months, twice a week. My plan is 6 months, 3 times a week. Phase 1 is this, phase 2 is this, phase 3 is this. You know, Jane, John, do you think that this plan would get you to where you want to go, right? Do you feel like this is a good plan for you, coming in 3 times a week, training this way? First we're going to fix the squat, then we're going to get into your nutrition, then we're going to get into your homework and your consistency, your endurance training, your blah 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 blah, right? Again, depending on the client, depending on that consultation, you're putting together a plan for them. There's no price. There's just a plan. You don't show the prices until you show the plan. Now, if that person goes, "Oh yeah, that sounds great. I would love to lose, those 5 pounds in the next month or whatever the goal is, or that would be great, because I really want to get rid of this back pain, and I could see how doing this for a few months would help." Once you get the agreement, now you just have to sell them on the price. So you're going to say, "Okay, this 3-month plan is this much. The 6-month plan is this much. Which of the two sounds better for you?" And I'm just asking for you to make a choice. The 3 months sounds better to me because right now I'm going to go on a vacation, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Do you want to pay it up front, the whole thing in advance, or do you want to divide it into some payments? That's the only sale I'm making now, because now the icebreaker, the advertisements, the consultation, the consultation, the assessment, all of that's in the past. I finally got to the final phase of the price, and now the choice is just how you're going to pay for it. That's the sale I'm trying to make. I'm trying to just get you to buy in to one of these two options. We have the full payment, we have the divided by payment. Those are the two options. Of these two options, what sounds best to you? So I'm saying all that to say that you need to think about everything that you do in all of its little parts. It's the only way that you're going to get mastery over what you do. It's the only way that you can go back and fix the problems, right? Because that's the issue that we have when we don't understand every step of the way. We don't realize that the reason why we're not getting to the very end is because one of these steps might be falling apart. And you might think, well, no, because I have the best assessment, Sam. I mean, I don't understand why people don't buy into my assessment. I would ask, how many assessments did you do this week or this month? Oh, well, I only got 2. Okay, so the issue is not your assessment. The issue is that you don't have enough people showing up for your consultation. So now I'm going to go, let me see your consultation. What's up with your consultation? Is your consultation bad? Oh, well, I don't do a consultation. I just do an assessment. Well, then maybe that's the issue. If you understand the step that comes before the assessment, how do you know what you're assessing for if you don't know what the goal is and what their concerns are? Boom. Now, if you're like, okay, I do the consultation, it's good. I do the assessment, it's good. I do. So then what's the issue here? Well, maybe you're not selling the pricing. You're not selling a package. You're just telling them, oh, these are the plans. Pick one, instead of saying, this is my plan for you. What do you think? Right? Selling them that plan. Or you go back. Maybe you're just not good enough at breaking the ice, or you're not good enough at getting people to go to your website. And so you may be thinking, oh, but I have the best consultation. I have the best assessment. I've been practicing. But I'm going to say, sure, but how many people go to your website in order for you to get enough consultations, for you to have enough presentations, for you to have enough clients? And so that's the importance of knowing your system. You're going to go back and figure out which part you need to develop. Now, when you're new, you have to develop all of them, right? But first, you have to learn to start talking to people. And even before you even talk to people, you have to have substance. That's the importance of the knowledge, right? So first you have to be certified and know what you're talking about and have solutions. Then you have to figure out how to break the ice. Then you use the knowledge that you had, you break the ice. The conversation is going to need the knowledge, because how are you going to tell them what you're going to do for them if you don't have the knowledge? And if you don't know where you're going, you're going to start talking about long term. They don't trust you enough for long term. You have to sell the next step. And so I hope that it makes sense to you guys. I just want you guys to think about your system and think about every step and really analyze your ability to execute and be good at every step, right? Is your knowledge good? Because that might be an issue. Is your opening good, or your hook, right? If you guys are making ads online, is the hook getting their attention? Are you saying or doing or showing something that gets them interested? If it is, are you getting them to make a commitment to come try it out? If they are you getting them to want to try this out short term? If you are you getting them then to renew and go long term? If you are, then do you have any clients that are going to bring in other clients because your service is so good? If you're not, then you have to fix that part. It's not good enough for them to bring you other clients, or it's not enough for them to stick around for a year. From the knowledge to the opening, all the way to the presenting the prices, getting renewals, and getting them to make long-term commitments, is a series of events that have to happen. And so you guys have to think about it, not just with your sales, not just with your training, but with a lot of different things in our life, our fitness routine, our, I always say this, but it's just, there's so many similarities, but in our dating life, in our mental health, our physical health, right? What's the next step? That's the issue that we have with so many things in life. We want to be there already, right? Oh, I just want to get a client. To get one client, all of the things we talked about today had to happen, and they have to happen with every single client that comes in. So if you need 10 clients, this whole, 5-step, 7-step process has to happen over and over and over again. And so if you don't have that process, you keep looking at, why don't I have clients? Well, there's a process. You need to respect the process. Why don't I have leads? Well, that requires a certain amount of knowledge. That is its own category. Getting people to know about you is separate from getting people interested in coming in, is separate from getting people to make a long-term commitment. Those are all different levels of commitment. And so you just have to understand that, so that you have more awareness of how things work. That's all I'm trying to show you, is you have to, because then you go back, right? So I opened up today's episode saying I was making this mistake recently, right? I was so focused on where we are now, the rates that we're at now, the best trainers that we have now, that I forgot, well, when you're new, what's going on, right? So I had to apply this to my training staff. I had to reconfigure and say, why am I treating a trainer that has been here for 1 year exactly the same as the trainer that's been here ten years? Right? And why am I having these expectations? Because I was having issues understanding certain things, and I realized there is what you focus on when you're at 6 months. There's what you focus on when you're at your first year. There's what you focus on in the next 2 years. There's who you become 5 years into it. There's who you become 10 years into it. There's different levels of attention, knowledge, abilities, focus that you have to give somebody. And so I had to go back. I had to go back and reassess systems, right? So today is getting you guys to be aware that everything that you do should be broken down into steps. The better you are at that, the better you'll be at fixing your business, fixing your lead generations, fixing your sales, fixing your personal training, fixing the issues in your career, your relationships, your abilities, your knowledge, your training, all of it. If you can begin to think about, what are all the steps that have to happen? Let me really break it down as much as I possibly can, so that you can hone in and become an expert in every area, so there's no gaps in your abilities and your knowledge and your business, right? But a lot of people struggle with this, right? A lot of people, I'll give you guys one last example how this happens. A lot of people get in really good shape, they're really fit, and they wonder why nobody's training with them, because they don't realize that's not the only element, that's not the only part of the system, right? Other trainers are very knowledgeable, but maybe they don't look the part, maybe they don't have the social skills. And so because they're not breaking down what are all the things that need to happen here, they keep hoping that the one thing that they figured out is good enough, right? So in today's system, just because you're good at talking to people doesn't mean you're good at getting them committed. And just because you're good at the last part doesn't mean you know how to meet people every day. They're two different skills, but both of them are part of the entire process. So the person that's good at the end needs to work on the beginning. The person that's good in the beginning needs to work in the middle and the end. And so and back and forth it goes, right? We all have natural strengths. Certain parts of the system make perfect sense to some of us, but other parts don't. And that's where those gaps are. So I hope you guys can, for your own system, look at your social media, look at your website, look at your pricing, look at your consultation, your assessment, your advertisements, your content, your personal skills, your ability to carry a conversation, your questions, all of these parts. I need you to go back and really categorize them and say, do I actually know what I'm doing? Do I have opening lines to talk to people and a way to approach somebody? Do I have a certain profile of person I approach? Right? That's another part of it. Who do I feel comfortable approaching? Who am I good at approaching? If you don't know who that profile is, you're approaching the wrong people. That might be an issue too, right? So you have to look into your system. How do I talk to somebody to get them interested? What questions do I ask to get them to want to come to a consultation? What message or phone call do I make? I didn't talk about this earlier, but what do I say in my follow up text or call or email to get them to commit to coming in for that consultation? What do I say in that consultation to get them to want to make a commitment to training? What do I say during that commitment to training to get them to buy that package at a full rate, right? Or pay it all up front in full? Every part is part of the system. Every part deserves studying, right? Getting good at consultation is different than getting good in assessment. We just talked about this with Sean, right? He redid the assessment at the gym, and I have a certain way of doing the consultation. And what started to happen is when I did it, I did the consultation. And then when he did it assessment heavy, and I did it consultation heavy. And we had a meeting and we're like, these are two different categories. We're starting to conflate the two, right? We're starting to call the assessment a consultation, the consultation and assessment. They're two different elements of the onboarding process, of the sales process, right? The consultation is the talking part, the assessment is the physical part. They're two different things with two different purposes, with two different sets of skills, right? I may be able to ask you good questions, but when I watch you move, I may not be able to see what's going on, why you can't squat lower, if your ankles are tight, if your shoulder is immobile. I know that's different set of skills than the ability to ask you about your goals, about your nutrition, about your sleep, about your medication. Two different things. Both of them require different sets of knowledge. The presentation is its own category, right? Can I confidently present a plan? This requires thinking ahead. Where am I going with this? That's a whole nother set of skills. So that's all I'm trying to get you guys to understand is every step of the way, there is a separate category. And the point of today is always be trying to focus on just getting them to the next step. That's the takeaway. That's what I need you to understand. The reason why I'm asking you to look at your steps is simply so that you know which step you're trying to sell. It's only the one that follows that one. That's your main emphasis when you're in this phase, right? So, once again, when I break the ice, what's my actual goal? To sell them on talking to me for 5 to 10 minutes. During those 5 to 10 minutes, now I've set a new goal. My new goal is to get them to be interested in what? Training? No, coming in for a consultation or an assessment. When I follow up with them, my goal is what? To get them to commit to what? The consultation and assessment, the first meeting. If I get them to show up for the first meeting, what's my mission? To get them to have a good, deep conversation with me and assess their movement. Why am I doing that? Because during this consultation, this assessment, I'm trying to figure out what the best path would be because I need them to buy into the path, the plan, the program. That's all I'm selling during the consultation and assessment is the plan. Once I present the plan leads to the prices, and that's the final, right? Once I show them the prices, it's just about them choosing what price plan they're going to choose. Are they paying it in front? Are they dividing it? Are they shortening their time with me because of the price? But at that point, I've already laid out the plan because that was my objective in that part of my system in my phase. That phase was simply presenting the plan that I as a coach would execute with them. And then the final thing is just the rate that's attached. So Again, I'm going over and over it again, but I need you guys to think about it. And for those of you guys that do have a website that do have to, you need to go and apply this to your website. When that person comes in and looks at the website, what is it that I want them to do? Just stare at it? Make a purchase? How could they make a purchase? I need to add more information. Well, what information? Well, what's important to them? And this is how you begin to build the system. Okay, if somebody goes to the website, they have an issue. What's the issue? What do they need to see and read to believe I can fix that issue? Do I want to meet them in person? I need to let them know that. This is what I want you to do. Come meet me in person. I want them to buy it online. This is why you should buy it online. It's difficult because there has to be a sense of urgency, a sense of commitment. So you have to be very good at building it online. But at the end of the day, the system thinking, the process thinking, the breakdown of the elements thinking is what I need you to realize. Sell the next step, right? So, first, your mission when you have a website is to get people to the website. How do you even do that? Right? Because you may have the best site, the most informative website, but nobody's going to the website. So what's the good website for if you now don't know how to get them? And at the same time, you might be great at getting people to a website, but the website doesn't have the information that they need or that they're looking for. There's no button to call. There's no button for a consultation. Am I supposed to call or am I supposed to email? Am I supposed to buy a package or do a consultation? It has to be clear what the next step is. So this is all about getting them further and further down the line. Next step, next step, next step. And it's just going to flow all the way. That's the beauty of doing it this way. It's not chunky. It's not aggressive. It's just simply, it makes sense. It's like if you took a left step, it's only natural to take a step with your right foot. Once you take the step with the right foot, it's only natural to go with the left, right? But if I ask you to skip 3 times with the left, skip one with the right, skip two with the left, skip one with the right, skip three. Now it's like I forgot, Sam, how you wanted me to do this, right? It's clunky. But if you just go left foot, left foot, right foot, it's easy, right? Hey, how's it going? What are your issues? Come for a trial. This is what I found out. This is my plan. This is how much it is. Boom, 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 boom. Same thing with the website. Come to this website to figure out this. Oh, you're here. Here's some information. Do you have an issue with this? Click this button. Click this button. I'm going to call you back. When I call you back, we're going to set up this. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. It's critical that you think about it because this is the biggest issue I see, you guys. It's always running into like, what am I supposed to do with this? Right. Sometimes I see advertisements and I'm like, oh, this gym looks super cool. Am I supposed to call? Am I supposed to follow them? Am I supposed to set up a consultation? Am I supposed to, are they in Arizona? Are they in California? Are they in Florida? Do they do one-on-one? Do they group? I have no idea because it just looks cool. But what am I supposed to do with this? Right. So you as a personal trainer, as a professional, as a business owner, have to always go back and look at your steps and make sure that people are just being sold the next phase of the process, right? In everything, all you do is get them to make the next little commitment and the next little commitment, right? But you have to know it, you have to think about it and see it. What's the smallest next step? What's the smallest next step constantly? What's the next step? Right? Because it's easy. You're like, oh, okay, they come in for a consultation and then I show them a package. A lot of things had to happen before that. So I need you to think about that. You can't just say, "Oh, well, when they come in, I just got to get them to commit." No, you have to ask them a series of questions. What questions are those? You have to get them to be interested. How do you do that? You have to have a solution. There's a lot of steps in between the big steps that you just said, right? You can't think about it like that anymore. And I'm telling you, I've made this mistake. I always, this episode is not just for you guys, it's for me to also remember this. Always look at the steps, always sell the next steps. It's the easiest way to build your career and your business, right? Always sell the next step. And then once you have A through Z, now it's just a matter of keeping that conveyor belt going, right? Always opening from the beginning part, the ad, the whatever it is that you do in the beginning. And if you do that, the funnel is just constantly going because there's always someone somewhere in the phase, right? So you have someone who you're talking to today, but you have a consultation set up for tomorrow. And today you're closing one deal, right? So today you're making a sale. Tomorrow you're doing a consultation. And yesterday you were talking to people, and you're always in this constant flow of having people in your funnel, in your system. That's how you do it. But you have to know what that system is. That's what the biggest point of today. know your system, and then know what phase you're in at every part of this process, right? Don't forget, okay, I just met this person phase. So what's my next phase? Okay, get their phone number phase. Okay, so my mission is to get them to trust me enough to get their information. That's my mission. Not to sell them training, not the consultation. I just want the phone number. That's what I want. Or I just want the follow. That's what I want. I want them to follow me because once they follow me, I'm going to message them. But right now, I just want them to follow me. That's my only mission. So you focus on the mission. It's going to change how you talk, how you record, how you present yourself, the things you talk about. It's going to change it because you have a mission. That's the big issue when you don't know what step you're in. You may be talking about something that doesn't make sense for this issue, right? It's like I'm talking about getting married and having 5 kids on my first date. It's not that you're a bad person, is that you're having conversations out of whack. This is not the time to have that conversation. It's not that doing this is bad. It's not that this person might not want that. It's that this is not the time to have that conversation, right? So I'll leave you guys with that to really realize that's what happens in our sales process, in our business process. All of it is you're having the wrong conversation at the wrong time, right? So step by step. And like I said in today's episode, always be selling the next logical step in this process. All right. So you guys, if you guys have a question, a lot of episodes lately have been Q&As because a lot of you guys have been sending in questions. So don't stop doing that. If you have a question, I love turning your questions into episodes. So if you have a question, we'll turn it into an episode and, we'll go from there. So go to personaltrainerhustle.com, send in your question. If you guys want to get some personal training marketing shirts, that's like the only thing that I try to have for you guys available. There's no personal trainer hustle merch. This is for you guys to prospect with it, right? So if you guys have a uniform, something that says I'm a personal trainer, it can be a conversation opener, right? Just like we talked about today, that would be phase one. You wear your shirt, you wear your hoodie. It says personal trainer. I'm a personal trainer. So when you're waiting at the store, you're waiting to check out, you're going to the gym to work out, somebody might start that conversation. And then that's the beginning of the phase that we talked about today. So make sure you pay attention to that phase. All right, bye.